Hello. Kuomboka is coming up. Good morning from Dallas, Texas, and welcome to the show. Saturday morning, ZBTR TV is here. We do hope that you are having a wonderful weekend wherever you are. It's rainy, cold, foggy where I am, so we are dealing with that type of things. Tag a friend, let them know that the show is live. Today we're going to go back to something that we started some time ago. Let me say hello to my colleague here. Hi.
Hello. Good morning, Zambia Blog Talk Radio listeners. Welcome to the show.
What's your name?
Right? My name is Matilda Lucas. I'm here in Florida.
You're in Florida. All right. Hi, Pastor AC.
Hello. Good morning, everyone.
You doing okay?
I am doing great. Thank you. Yeah, it's a great, nice and cool. It's not too hot for a change.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's nice, perfect weather, perfect beach weather for me because I don't need.
Okay, Matilda, it's coming from your end.
The echo?
Yeah.
Okay. So I will mute, and whenever I need to speak, I will unmute. Is that okay?
Okay, just try to do that. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yes, that's good. But we're good with that. We'll see what happens with that. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And we are back here. You remember, this is what you call it, Citizens Open Forum. And like we said the last time we were here, and Matilda dropped a bombshell on women's health and hygiene. But before we get into that, we have like 1, 2, 3 small little issues to talk about. We appreciate everybody joining us. Let us know where you're watching from so that we can acknowledge you and know how far we are going with this broadcast. Okay, so 3 things. Number 1, we have cholera outbreak in Zambia. It's been going on, I understand, since October. It's affected the school opening schedule. They've pushed it forward. And number 3, I believe, we had an Emirates plane circling around because the lights at the international airport went out. Load shedding. Okay, so what do you want to start with, Pastor Alan? Cholera or what? What's up with cholera?
Cholera, I don't know. You would think that this, up to now, since we've been facing cholera, that we would have figured it out. But we can't have the same preventable, easily. It's devastating, it's deadly, but relatively easy to deal with because it's a question of hygiene.
I like the phrase relatively easy to deal with.
Yeah. Because it's by now, it's been over 20 years since we started having cholera. And I know that's really putting the years low, if I say 20. But we can, surely our communities, what do the members or council members or the ward chairman and all these, every political party has one of those. What else are they doing? This is something that you could get into and say, guys, let's clean. Let's not wait for the council. The mayor does not live next to me. If there's a cholera outbreak, the mayor's house is safe wherever he lives in his mansion.
Yes.
Those in these communities. And it's those ward councillors and the churches. Because every corner in Zambia has a church. Maybe they are around there. But these are people in the community who are there present. It's a cleanup issue. Not everything. I remember when my mother told me, Kebi Musokotwane in the KK days, was the prime minister or something, the official, he visited her school, Chingola Primary School. And when he was touring, I think it was Minister of Education, he saw cobwebs. And then he turned to the headmaster and said, surely you don't need money from Lusaka to clean those cobwebs. It's a similar situation. Where we live, that's what we must get off the government must do where we live in the
Okay.
All right. I've unmuted my phone to get ready to chime in. I agree with Vamlenga's sentiments. You're very on point on that. Here, I had a similar discussion with Zambians who are also concerned about the cholera issue. And when we start, to my recollection, I remember there was a cholera outbreak in the 90s, but somebody else had mentioned there was one back, I think, in the late 70s or early 80s. But Palisa changed that before we saw it again in the mid 90s. The thing is, around that time, these small compounds started bursting around, these illegal settlements, Amashanti, and the councils, I don't know what they were doing about them, but these places have grown, they have mushroomed. Kalingalinga, Mtendere, Garden Compound, as we know them, back then they were smaller, they were not as congested. So some of the things that are a problem when we want to lay blame on the government is we should, when these settlements start building sewer systems and drainage and water pipes, there should always be some type of accountability to make sure that at least it has met the standards. Yes, it's an illegal settlement. They've been there for decades, over 30 years, but is this a sewer tank deep enough? You know, are there regular drainage? Because that's also what happens when there's an overflow. But when it comes to us, because the problem also starts na Abantu, the people living there, as Alan said, Ubusaka, your house may be clean inside and your yard is clean, but keep that cleanness everywhere where you're going. Don't have a piece of paper and just, you're done with it, work aposa, apopeni. You know, I'm strange or weird. The school I went to, you know, so we also need to be responsible as citizens to be clean. But Simon Mwewalane, people laugh at him, and he's always in people's faces. But there's one thing that he's consistent about. He's always telling someone, Mayotole nichpepala posen mubin, tata posen mubin. We shouldn't have to have a police or someone regularly telling us what to do. Some of these things are very preventable. If we do our part, then we can lay blame on the government and say, the government you know, this we have to be, when the rain season ends, that's when we should have these conversations.
Yeah. You know, on the other hand, when it comes to the government, if it was in this nation, there's a disease outbreak in your neighborhood, in your city. Guess what? Somebody's losing a job. In Zambia, I won't say Africa generally, but in Zambia, because that's where I know my country, there's no accountability for anything. Nobody's going to be dismissed. Nobody's going to come out and apologize, because it is someone's responsibility to ensure that their place is clean. Whether they have the equipment or not is not the issue. That's not where it starts from. Number one is who is responsible for ensuring. We can't say the council, it's too broad. In the council, there are people who work in accounts. But the guy that's supposed to be on the ground, seeing that these drainages are cleaned, the neighborhood, there's no drainage here. Let's organize the neighbors. Imbeniko to me follow. What at me this floor, the water can collect at this central point, and at this central point, we can now deal with it. Garbage. Is there's a central place where, okay, once someone posts up a garbage, at least from this point, we can figure out how to deal with it. Somebody somewhere has to be held accountable. When you're a politician, you are elected to fix problems, not to come and tell us what the problem is. We live with it. We already know what it is. So when you're in there, you're there to fix that issue. So somebody, it doesn't matter who caused cholera, what year it went back to. You are in office today. You are responsible for our relatives dying today. When we start holding people accountable, maybe we start changing. Because we don't need someone from Europe to come and give us ideas on how to clear our, keep our neighborhoods clean and have a cholera-free neighborhood. That's kind of ridiculous.
Matilda, can you find an earpiece? Yeah.
I can. Let me ask my assistant. I don't have my earpiece.
You'll be fine.
I know, right? But can I chime in real quick?
Go.
As I'm asking the assistant Kuno, which I asked a question since he's over a city, like with the city, who's in charge of cleaning? He said Public Works or the Water Department. So, Kuzambe, what a Public Works a question? I'm asking because I don't know.
Yes, we do.
I know we have Lusaka City Council. I don't. Has this switched?
But here's the thing. Keep working on it. Here's the thing. It could be the issue of. You see, that department is there. The question is, do they have the necessary equipment that they need to deal with the cholera issue, or the picking up garbage? Cholera is a sanitary issue, isn't it?
Yes, it's a sanitary issue.
Sanitation and whatever.
Cleaning.
And the department is called water and sanitation. You don't want us to go so much on that. It was just, no, it doesn't switch. You need to keep working on it.
Let me get out and I'll come back.
All right.
But Nathan, we can say, do they have the necessary equipment? It's been well over 20 years of not having the necessary equipment. Have we really prioritized the cholera issue?
Yeah,
that's why I'm saying someone.
But you heard what KBF said here. There is they put how to fight cholera, and I can't remember where I wrote it, somewhere on my notes here.
They have a whole document on a plan for fighting cholera and eradicating it by
25.
25.
Is it? I don't know. Somebody was telling me that they didn't have cholera the past 2 years.
Yes, there's been a couple of years, according to my understanding, where they haven't had cholera. If it's there, it wasn't even worth reporting if they had cases.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah.
I hope the sound is better. All right.
Thank you, Rodney. Thank you, Rodney.
Oh, he can't hear you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now, these things, when these things are happening,
you're so distracted. It's kind
I feel like Mpashi is all over me.
I can imagine the Muliku pulpit. Too much to command that demon.
When I'm on the pulpit and the things are not working well, I tell them to deal with it before I can continue. I don't want us to dwell on the cholera thing.
Okay, we're done with the cholera. I was going to ask on your thoughts on the call for prayers, but we can move on.
That's important.
Call for prayer for what?
For cholera. We can move on. Moving on, Tien.
I told you last time that when you start things to do with the church, you are going to make me.
Okay, Tualeka. We need.
So schools have been, the opening of the schools has been pushed forward. And then the other issue before we get on to our subject of, what do you call it? Women's health and what we talked about last time. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Tandy, UK. I'm even scared that Tandy is here because last time, Matilda, you started that topic. She was like, Vanessa, are you listening? Good morning,
Thank you,
Winnie.
Tandy.
Good morning. Hi, Miss Brenda. Hello, hello, hello. And hi, Clementina. Welcome, everybody. And Lamukuka, we appreciate you being here. And Zaineth, hi, hello, everybody. Okay, the plane circled couldn't land because the lights had gone off at the international airport. The lights went off at the international airport. Huh?
Again, whoever is in charge, when we have consequences, you avoid things like that. Unless, because it's either from ZESCO to even the airport operations. In the world we live in, there's got to be, what if ZESCO can't supply power today? How does the airport function? That's an answer that's supposed to be in place. There's supposed to be generators, whatever, at least the basics.
A backup system.
A backup system, so that at least planes can land safely. You know,
I would think that, like you are saying, I would think like an operation like an airport, especially the department to do, let me just say the whole airport is supposed to be like the hospital. Like Matilda, you said, the backup generator, when power goes out, then you see that plane went round and round. I think it went to Ndola, right? That's where it went and landed. I don't know the story. I just wanted to bring that up.
But Nathan, that point you've just brought up is crucial, and you've triggered a memory. Something I forgot. I actually took a class in national security. And some of the assignments we were given were to find out, in our cities or our countries where we're from, what do we have in place? Not having power at a place like at an international airport is crucial. That also affects the national security. We are glad Zambia is a peaceful nation. We don't have enemies. Maybe we do, but we are not looking over our shoulder. Nimbi va NK na va SK va Laisa. Shabalu vule. Na kulia kuside, kulia kunos, kulia kumolo. You know, we're not looking over our shoulder.
Bemba se avalongwana.
But these are things that we need to look at. This is a national security. Not having power is a national. It jeopardizes the national security if we don't have it at the airport. You can have illegal landing or an accident that can cause major problems because tabale mona. But that's unfortunate. I hope it's something that they're working on and we don't see a repeat of this in the future.
Okay. Now, let's get into our discussion. The last time Matilda and Alan were here, we dived or raised an issue to do with, according to the terminology the professionals were using, women's hygiene, okay? Or I'm saying women's health.
Women's health.
Yeah.
Their hygiene. Ni healthy.
No, Carol said women's hygiene.
Okay, Vanessa, twala unfila kuli Vanessa.
No,
mayo bala mimi that hygiene.
That's why I'm saying health, and you can. All right. All right. So let's listen to something from what we did last time, and then we shall pick it up from there. Okay. Watch this.
Ago or maybe 5 years ago now, just before the pandemic, when I went to Zambia,
did
I realize the issues that our sisters and daughters and mothers face when it comes to menstrual cycles and as it pertains to schools? Most of them can't afford sanitary pads and things like that, so they end up missing days at school.
Yes.
And I was like, I've grown up all this time. I've never stopped to think the why. and what's the solution, and how difficult that must be for our sisters and daughters and mothers.
Yeah.
So it was kind of crazy, and so for me it became like a crusade. Now I've got to figure out a way to help, to do my part in contributing to helping those kids, especially as we work with the kids in the townships. So now you are there in our compounds.
Okay, that was a clip from last time's show. I think we did that in the summer. Was it in the summer?
Yeah.
Yes, in the summer.
Yeah. So Alan, you said, according to what is in that clip, the why. Okay, that was a very important point, the why. Then secondly, you said you were going to embark on a crusade to help. So
Yes.
I want you to speak to those two things, because we have said to ourselves on this forum, we are not just going to talk about things and we move on and we just leave it like that. No. So the why and
Yes.
the crusade to whatever.
Yeah. So up to now, it still kind of like baffles me when I reflect on. So everything that we do and go through life as a man, we never stop to think or consider these things. So I think that's where I was coming from with the why. And then when you begin to look at how it actually affects us, we are practically, like for me, I don't know if I can really function without my wife, but I don't think I've ever really stopped to consider everything that she has to endure and go through. And in stepping up and saying, man, I need to make things a little bit easier just for her. Now, she is in a privileged position where she can get all this help and everything. So when you take it back home, that's why last time I had insisted on 2 institutions where our women can be, this information can be disseminated and education can take place. It's in the schools, number one, because a majority of our kids do go through at least up to now grade 5 or grade 6.
Yeah.
Depending whether you're in the village or in the city. So those 2. And then the churches. We got a church around every corner, everywhere we go in our country. In every compound, there's a church mushrooming everywhere. These people should be helping, educating, providing for where we can't. So the question again is so why does society want to just move on like it's nothing? Here in the States, you could say because they've got everything that they need. I mean, any girl can walk into any place like the Salvation Army, you get help. There's so many places that you can go to get help. I'm not sure if they are 100% covered, but things are available for them. In our country, it's not, and these things are necessary for the well-being. So you expect a girl child to miss 5 days of school because she's on her cycle, and then when she gets home, she's doing all the cleaning or the cooking and everything, and then you still want her to excel and be go to college, graduate, forget all the competing with all the men. This is just issues that she's dealing with on her own. Now, when you get into the workplace, you are fighting for school places with the boys who are not facing any of what you face. Then in the college, then in the workplace. So there's things that are put in place, and I think our government has to play a leading role in that, and then also our churches. I'm from the church world. Over 70% of our church members are women. And
I think let's switch those roles. Instead of government and the church, let's say the church.
Yes.
Now, I'm even hesitant to say this because I know where it's going to go. I know myself. I know where it's going to go. Does the church limit itself in the way it looks at its role in the community? Oh, wow, that was nice. I said a nice thing.
Yes, you said a nice thing. But Alan, I would like to respond after you. Go ahead.
Yeah, has the church limited itself in the role it can play?
Yes, absolutely. Because okay, in a perfect world situation where every girl child has everything provided and taken care of at home, the church doesn't need to step in. But that's in a perfect world like that. But in the current situation, and we are saying the cause is number one, the lack of education on even how to use them. Because remember, we brought up you can supply pads, but most of them don't even know how to use them because some of them may not even have underwear. So where do they get the education from? Where do we find the highest concentration of women gathering, sitting down to listen? It's the church. So the church has to, if you're a pastor and you're interested in the welfare of your members, don't you want your members to be healthy, to make their lives easier, to be able to put in a position where they can win, they can get out there and accomplish and do things? So, and if they can't get it anywhere, you have them. The church has the ability to be much more of an impact positively than any other institution, probably.
Okay, Matilda.
All right. First of all, I know before you played the clip, you said hygiene, and I said Aweni health. I didn't realize you're starting with this, with that clip. So yes, it is hygiene and health. I wanted to correct myself, but I also in response to the challenge that Alan had placed to us sometime last year and bring it up again. I think we have to be intentional with some of these things. With these issues that women go through, these are monthly things. It's not a one-time. So it has to be intentional, and the support has to be consistent. I would say when I was in Zambia on the ground, and Alan, your experience, you brought a lot of things to light when you're trying to do a certain ministry, but if you think Fimbi, they come up. Mulusaka, there's a concentration of NGOs, like saturation, you know, and there are some people on the ground who are doing these things, and they are doing their best. Some are giving away things, some are, you know, struggling, but there's a concentration. I'm not saying that we don't need to help. We do need to help. What we need to do is identify some of the people on the ground. Then for us in the diaspora, we can ask or challenge our associations or our organizations to say, let's partner with people like Carol Care or someone who's doing, I think, the ladies group in Atlanta. Yeah, Nala acronym. Yes, the Atlanta Ladies Association. And I believe Texas also has a ladies group. Florida has a ladies group.
Indiana,
maybe
you see Indiana, they have that nice tea party thing.
Yes.
Women, yeah.
Let's see what we can do. This is not just a women's thing. The men can help in. If the men don't want to go to the shop and buy pads, give us the money. But after all that, let's partner with Amazon and say, Amazon to Twalilen Kwefi, Kuzambia, and then Kuzambia here are the people. But let's not just stop in Lusaka. Let's go to these other places. But we also have to bear in mind, is it going to be a one-time thing? Is it every 3 months? Is it every 6 months? And you can help them to Jenga Mailo. There's an organization, I'm sorry to say men, now it's a little bit embarrassing for you men to hear. They were doing a GoFund, and they were based in Zambia, but with help, Kuno. They said they bought pads, right? And they took them to this village, say, you know, Vanamayo, Fundeni, the young girls on how to wear these things. And the women are like, first of all, we ourselves as grown women don't even have underwear. So how are we going to show them what to do when we ourselves don't have underwear? So the problem gets even bigger. So there are a lot of things that come into play. The only thing that I will insist is let's be intentional. Let's work together collectively. Let's identify people here in the diaspora and people at home so that we can help with easing this solution. You know, easing this problem.
We are going to be on a crusade. This is not going to end here, and it's not just the women. It's everybody is going to get involved. Okay, I know I almost feel like sinking into the ground when you mention certain things.
Sorry.
No. It's okay. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's even the whole reason why we're talking about this, because we do not want to talk about it in our communities and wherever we are, because that is even the more reason where we are. So the crusade is on, okay?
Yes.
And I challenged you, Matilda, to say, you, Matilda, call Brenda, who else? Call Caro, call Tandy in the UK. Come here, do a show and rally everybody.
Yeah.
Okay?
I can do that. That's
so
not a
that
problem.
you can say things that Alan and I can't say without getting in trouble. Okay? So that's what we are going to do. It's serious. I'm very serious about this. We cannot have a
Challenge
situation
accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you see, because the thing is, the reason I didn't want us to shy away and run away from the church thing is, you can't just have people, majority who are women, who are part of your congregation, and all you do is just, get offering out of them. No, it's not there. There you go. I said it.
You are even mad that your pastor, that the women didn't show up to church. You've got zero consideration for everything that she goes through.
Yeah.
But you still want her sitting in your pew every day.
It's very true. Okay, let's watch another clip. Let's hear from those of you that are watching how we can combat this challenge we are facing as a community. All right, here we go.
With the conversations, yes, but where should they be happening? There's got to be the one is the highest pool that we get a number of girls in. It's the schools. Starting in primary school, secondary, and go. So there's got to be a deliberate government policy where there's in the school subject, there's time where you take the girls aside and even the boys to some extent and discuss these things, teach them in school. Number two, the churches. I've told even the churches, the people we're working with.
When you mention the church, you're gonna make me start a fight.
Where do we have the largest number of women and girls coming, congregating? Because to say it's conversations, where should these conversations happen? In their homes, their mothers are ignorant about the subjects. So what are they going to be discussing?
Can I come?
Okay, so we've dealt with the aspect of the church. Now, recently, you heard an announcement from the UPND government. They changed the syllabus, okay? You heard about that. They changed the syllabus, now I've taught Form 6 and all that. The MMD government came in, changed the syllabus, brought in the basic school thing. Why are we always, I tend to think that we try to run away from the key issues. I don't want us to go into the things I talked about with KBF last week about you change the syllabus, okay, but there are 70 kids in class. That's not what this discussion is about. So on the government aspect, what should they do, Matilda, in terms of the curriculum or whatever you call it?
Okay, so we've switched subjects just to make sure.
No, we're still on the same matter, matter of how it should be. Yeah, it should become an everyday conversation.
You know what prevents some of these things to be everyday conversations? I'll just give an example you gave a few minutes ago, is hearing certain things and we cringe. It's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable to bring some things. And then there are some people who are skilled in speaking in proverbs, go around and not hit the point. So points are being missed. There's a generational gap. We have generations that are missing. Twice, large numbers have been wiped out about AIDS in a COVID pandemic. So when we speak, the audience is different. The younger generation are not going to hear. So when it comes to changing the curricula and addressing things that are sticky and uncomfortable, we just have to. Sometimes they will say, okay, those of us in the diaspora, we are being influenced by the world, the Western. So there should be a family responsibility. The family should go home and talk to the young men and the women about certain things. It shouldn't have to be the government. At this point, it has to be a combination. As the government is changing, I saw that the curricula, I listened to, and sorry, Vanessa, I listened to another fora out of Zambia, and they spoke to somebody on these curricula changes. There were a lot of things that came to my mind that I wanted to question, but it made sense, But speaking on the subject of hygiene and health, it should be part of the curriculum. It should be, it's something. Mona nkuno avana from grade 1 balishwa first aid, balishwa call 911, balishwa to identify into. If you see your mom or your dad can't do this, do that. We should include that in our curriculum. That's what the government should do. Include those things.
Okay.
And not be gun shy.
You want to add on, Alan, before we move on?
Yes, I think that's true. That's why I can't comment too much on the change curricula, because we're having not looked at it. We don't know what's in it. But I just hope that they put in practical, usable things, and that's why
they are actually.
Yeah.
But go on, sorry.
Yeah, so that's going to be important. As long as things that we used to have quite domestic muscle, those back in the days, we used to go, actually, like what school I went to even had boys' cookery, and then there was the domestic shani where some of the classes the boys were not allowed. I assume that was an area where they may have talked a little bit about some of those women issues. I do not know exactly to what extent, but I think that would be a welcome idea, because you start with them while they are young. And if it's practical, it's got to be, okay, this is what you use. If you don't have this modern things to use, what do you do in the absence of? In our community, society in Zambia, we've always got to be able to balance. Because what you tell a girl child who lives in Lusaka, in Kamwala, maybe it's just a question of, hey, your dad must put the money down so you can go buy this. But when you go to Kuchinsari, maybe the dad does, some of them, even if they did have, the stores may not even stock them, may not even be a shop nearby. So what do they do? So in those areas, that setup, again, the situation is what answer is needed for those in those setups.
Just to touch a bit, to bring you a little bit up to speed, Alan, the piece that I heard on this curricula is grade 7 exams will be taken in grade 6, and then there'll be an exam for grade 10, and then grade 10, 11, 12, you'll be having exams every year, major exams, and then the main one to go into grade 12. But between grade 1 and 6, you will learn very basic things, like all those 7 subjects or 5, whatever number, will be reduced, I think, to 4, English and math, and then a skill that is practical. Okay. So Apope Nepali is practical skill. I'm not sure, and they talked about examples were like agriculture and Ashala. So
unless I see it done, I'm not going to believe. Too many stories. Too many stories. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We're continuing our conversation today about women's health, and my guests are Alan Sichari Mulenga. The members like so many names, and
these days we are like Yalafika number 6 and the title.
And Matilda Lucas here from Florida. Okay. Kuomboka is coming up. I want to encourage everybody to participate. Let's come and have fun. Please don't raise the tribal thing. It's not necessary.
No one is.
Don't even go there. It's a gala. If you don't want to participate,
we should all.
You know what you do if you don't want to participate.
If you don't want to participate, buy a ticket, donate a ticket. Ama tickets nishing any 100 or something like that.
I think that's a better way to
50 or buy a $50 ticket for a child. If you don't want to go, someone's child will be happy to attend.
I don't know how anyone cannot want to participate or you know,
I know, right?
no, that's not where we're from. We are one Zambia. We are one people.
Exactly.
We celebrate one another, the diversity that we have, and we see it all
I'm
the time.
practicing my.
Yeah, it is. They are still, what goes on there is still a part of who I am. You know. It's
Okay, let's play another clip here, and then we shall continue our conversation. Listen to this.
Our partners, our husbands, and get your feeling. Whereas we are, you know, the fibroids are non-cancerous, but they can lead to other problems. They can lead to so many other serious things, like I have mentioned, stressing the heart. Now, my doctors now, whatever issue, but this thing is very prominent in Black women, African Americans, and Africans. Now, in Africa, you know, people go for surgery, and sometimes these surgeries are not successful. A lot of times they're not. And a lot of times women are seeking help when it's too late, you know? So.
Okay, Matilda, it also takes me back to, I want to ask this question, to the point of having a conversation on these things. You talked about the spouse. I think we also need to get to the communities that we live in. How should this conversation, how should we navigate it? How should we handle it?
I think the thing is listen with understanding and empathy. Listen, not to understand the issues, like let the person be heard. Alan point, like you are wondering, the pastor is wondering why sister such and such or mother such and such is not attending church. There are a lot of things that happen, you know, like it's amazing. Yesterday in the morning, I was as energetic as I am right now. By afternoon, by evening, I was depleted of all my strength. So now if I'm talking to my husband, I'm talking to my brother, I'm talking to my father, one, they shouldn't be quick to judge that you were fine in the morning. Are you pretending now? Listen, okay, maybe if you are that person who's cynical and want to be skeptical, not clear and listen. But listen to the person, you know. If a person is saying, I'm feeling weak, I'm feeling such and such, listen with understanding, with concern. Not because it's just you, but you know, because as I mentioned in the other clip, the heart can be so stressed. And it's funny that we're talking about this. These things don't just happen because you're on a monthly. She fibroid didn't she living it's competing with everything in your body. So it will suck blood anytime, anyhow. There are women who are past menopause who have a fibroid and it's still sucking up blood. So we have to have these conversations. Sisters, my sisters out there, talk to your spouses, your partners, talk to your family. If there are people who are living with their parents, talk to your mom and dad. Cool and if we have to be open. And those of you who are hearing this conversation, because my experience, just because I'm a woman, it's not the same experience another woman will have. Another lady will say, fibroids, but we are at different levels. We also have to listen to each other. Someone can say, oh, I have fibroids, but I don't experience that. Let's sisters as well, let's not downplay. You know, I've had them for most of my life. What I experienced in my 30s is different from what I'm experiencing in my 40s. Let's talk about this, God. What's going on here? You know?
Yeah.
But we need each other. We need to listen to each other.
Talking about conversations, Pastor Alan, you and I we are pastors. We're in ministry. We part of our work is we prepare young couples for marriage. They come for counseling. This thought came through my mind, Matilda, as we were preparing for this show. I said to myself, one of the questions, of course, you know, there are certain things you ask in a certain way. You can't do, even during counseling, you can't just say, are you a virgin? You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, you can't do that. But there is a question to avoid surprises in marriage. There are certain things people hold back until you get married because they are afraid that if they get to know about it now while you're courting, this person may pull out of the relationship and say, ah, effettive kabili. So there is a way I ask a certain question to say, are there any children that we should know about from a previous relationship before we go any further with this conversation? You see what I'm trying to say? I think, Alan, what we need to do as clergy, as ministers, as part of the conversation as we are counseling couples, is to bring in this subject and say, do you understand as a man that your wife ought always respond the way you want her to respond and when you want her to respond?
Yeah.
Because
you know,
things.
That's very important, Pastor Nathan, because the angle that I brought in, actually just in the last couple of weeks, there's a young couple that we're counseling. You know, so what I mentioned was sometimes our sisters or women have gone through abuse. And once they reported that, it could have been when they were a child, when they reported, the authority they reported, whether it was a parent, a government official, the police, whatever, whoever the grandmother, whoever it was, the first thing they said was, it's your fault. What were you wearing? Why did you go to his house? Where were you? Why would he just pick on you? So she was blamed for something that happened to her, right? So now she understands not to say nothing. So when she's dealing with you as a husband, if she doesn't feel, or someone who's going to be my husband, doesn't feel safe, she's not going to speak up, because she might face the same rejection, which triggers all those memories and pain that she encountered at that point. So now you are married, and then you just find that your wife is not responding the way you want to, because anytime you touch her in whatever particular way that triggers that memory, she pulls back, and you're thinking like, why, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with me? You just don't love me, blah, 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 blah. But for her, it's traumatic. It's triggering trauma, going back to that traumatic experience. So if she doesn't find it safe to explain to you, she will leave that. You think she resents you or she doesn't love you enough, but it's triggering that. So if she can communicate, then you are able to understand where she's coming from, and you can even help her heal or get over that or move on from that. And I could see the reaction from every time you mention that to one of these young girls that are getting married, you can tell almost the demeanor, some tear up, some even begin to cry right there at the end, because I didn't know how to explain to him. And the guys are like, oh my God, I didn't know. So this is what. So now they can deal with it better. So now the medical issue is equally as valid. I never saw it from that point of view. Like you're saying, if you've got fibroids or any other health issues, it might cause issues during, getting intimate and all that kind of stuff. So you're absolutely right. It's something that we must be able to bring up, because sometimes the reaction from the man is that, you're useless, I can go get another girl. You know how many want to blah, 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 blah. No understanding of where is this coming from and what does it...
Because remember, in our first discussion of this, when we had this conversation the last time, Matilda, you mentioned something to say. Some women have these things as early in their life as can be, and you see that even affects their ability to have kids. And when you get into a marriage relationship and you discover that your wife cannot have children, as African people, now the whole family rises up, okay? And all those things, and it becomes an issue.
Let me respond to that, Vanathan. First, like the example you opened up with, you said one thing, but the example you gave, I know you're just, time is limited, is for example's sake, but what it boils down to is directness. I haven't always been a direct person. Whatever, you don't look at a man or Abakalamba directly in the eyes like this. You don't do that. You look down. You don't speak directly. But when you don't speak directly, if you're not saying what you intend to say, there'll be miscommunication, and that's where it starts. you know. Ngafilia, when a young lady is getting married, young, old, whatever, and a woman is getting married, and they bring this man over during the talks, they'll ask them, or they'll ask her, "Mwalive shvava?" You know, that question, do you know this person? That's a very vague question. But Mundia, it's a double-edged question. Are you intimate with that person is what they're asking you. Do you also know him? Have you been talking? So your answer, you have to be careful. You can say, yes, I know him. Monshila and she. You know? So we have to be direct, you know, talk about these things with directness. Kunganda in most Zambian homes, even here in America, I'm sure they face that. But Takuba, there's not a feeling of safeness. Your parents love you, you love them, but is it a safe environment for you to say this and that? Because the minute your father sees you talking to that boy, but the fact that you're still talking to him, your father is going to whoop you for talking to that boy. Now, how safe are you going to feel if your father can't even give you a chance to explain what's going on? You know, talk about these things. Yes, we avoid, say, okay, they are being promiscuous. If the child, unfortunately, is doing those things, the house should still be a safe place to say, this is what's going on. I know it's strange for me saying this, but it helps. It helps. I've had friends who are Americans and like, I don't believe you talked about that. But when you think about that, if your children are not talking to you, who are they going to talk to? So what's
worse is if she was abused and it was traumatic.
Yes, and that's what I'm coming to.
She can't run to you for protection.
Right. If she can't even come to you on things that are not abusive, how is it going to be when it's abuse? And sometimes this abuse thing is a very, very deep topic, but we have to create a safe environment. And even when you meet your spouse, because men, you react in a very weird and different way. A woman comes to her partner and say, honey, mfweni, this is what has happened. You're expecting, I'm so sorry, oh my gosh, what happened? If you can internalize and the reaction is not what you're expecting. So in the end, you just keep quiet, you know? And last bomb is if a woman tells a man that, no, I didn't enjoy this intimate act, you will feel like it's an attack on your manhood, not knowing why didn't you enjoy it. I was in pain, you know?
Okay, Dr. Musanje says, let's talk about medical tourism in India. Let's develop state-of-the-art modern hospitals in Zambia with technology, equipment, CAT scans.
I agree.
MRIs, etc., and stop going to India. Yes, Dr. Musanje, I totally agree with you. If you watched the show last week when I talked to our politician, I talked about this. Okay? Oh, Akambwili is being evacuated to abroad. Have you heard about that?
Yes.
Yeah, church has authorized. Now, I want us to address this one. Can you see that, Matilda?
It's so hard.
It's so hard for women to have certain conversations regarding feelings of sexual displeasure or dissatisfaction. Should we just accept the situation that that's the way it has been and it will be like that? Or,
the women have accepted it, and it's not fair. Sorry, Pushen, I got excited.
No. I'm saying, should we just accept it that that's the way it is, that's a set of affairs, and we shall live like that eternally? Or what is the solution to this? Everybody chime in. Everybody watching, chime in. This is a very important point Nelly is raising here.
Indeed, it's very hard. I hope you can hear me. Okay. Indeed, it's very hard to have such conversations. Like I said, the men feel attacked first before they can hear what the woman is saying. The men will feel like, was it me? Did I underperform? Or did I not do this? Or did I shine? And then they switch gears very quickly. You know what I mean? It means weird. But we also have women, we also feel insecure. And sometimes we might blame ourselves internally. You know, is this the thing is, okay, I'll reflect back when a lot of ladies, our generation and above, my aunties, my mothers, my grandparents' generation, when they were talking to women about intimacy, pleasure was not something that was important or paramount. It was about the satisfaction of a man and producing children. So your pleasure is not, if you are likely to enjoy it, good for you. But it's all about pleasing the man. So now there's that thing of, okay, there's that aspect. But then when you have things like pain, endometriosis, you have cysts, you have fibroids, you have other things that go on that cause pain. You have trauma from being molested or being in a very bad relationship. All those things, childhood trauma or adult trauma. And then you come and say, this thing is uncomfortable. They'll say, oh, get over it. Some people can be crude, but in Shave crude, you know, but these are things that we need to talk about. First of all, some women don't still, even today, even my generation, still don't think that this is a subject we should discuss and say, how, Nalik, Balan London. I want to say a lot, but the time is clicking.
Yeah, I mean, what's the name? Zenith says, no, we should not accept.
We shouldn't accept it at all.
We shouldn't accept it.
Not at all.
We should not accept it.
Men will not accept.
So, in other words, we have, like, you see, it's a two-way thing, right? So, my posture should be to have a listening ear and get to posture myself in a place to say, what is she really trying to communicate, rather than make it be about me, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. That's so true. It has to be a two-way street. And women, when we're asked these questions, let's not clamp up. Ni clamp? Let's not clamp up. Pantuli moli mokenga na landa. Dimbi balansha or maybe bakayoku, because women, we are insecure for all kinds of reasons.
Let me say this, Matilda, sorry to cut you short. I think the insecurity on your part comes in from the very point where Panga Palastin, how is he going to take this? How is he going to respond
and what has
to this?
Been you your whole life?
Yeah. And you see, those kind of situations, can you put your team together and have this conversation? And
ladies,
let's talk about this at
send me messages.
Background encourage the technical stuff.
Because
any lady interested, please write it in the comments. If you know my number, text me. Natamwishive number, but Alan or Nathan's number, reach out to them, they'll reach out to me. I'll be glad to put a forum together. We can have a WhatsApp group. I think if Brenda is still listening, I had reached out to her a couple of years ago to say, let's put up a group to discuss fibroids and such and such. But then there were some other women who have fibroids and they're like, it's not a big deal. But this is a big deal. Ladies, let's get together and we can come up with a conversation and projects as well. And
so that you can educate us. Part of what we are going to do at the end of this is this crusade for us to buy supplies and whatever stuff that we are going to do. Okay, we are going to do that. Okay, let's play our last clip here. And Nelly is just dropping bombs here, Nelly.
Thank you, Nelly.
You need to have this conversation. Don't make me cringe.
It can be an indication, not just fibroids. It can be uterine cancer. It can be cysts. It can be endometriosis. It can be scar tissue. So we need to pay attention. And the thing is, as women, we are hard on each other. We are, America, they are doing studies that are well known that a lot of pregnancies, when it comes to Black women or Latinos or minorities, but number one, Black women, a lot of them die from pregnancy complications, because even as these doctors, whether white, Black, male, female, as they are training them, it's in the medical books or somewhere in their teachings that we have a high threshold for pain. So it's okay. No, it's not okay. So that's why we have more and more Black doctors or more and more advocates who are saying, speak up, don't be quiet. Even if it's your doctor who's saying, Shan,
Okay, so our final clip, you talk about women being hard on each other, and then the pregnancy complications, particularly in Black women. And what's this issue about you women being on each other?
Because of that high threshold of pain stemming from that background, you know, you can't be seeing like, okay, I'll give you an example of yesterday. I started off high, energetic, but as the day was going on, I could barely breathe. Had I been in my home setting, the way I grew up with my aunts and all that, these are members of my family. These are women. They'll say, Lekobu nangani, Ima, go do this and this. Takwa woman nakashuwikala nala muno akasuba. That's what, yeah, you're not taking into consideration, like, even me as a woman, I may have experienced this, but we're going to say, I never mama did this to me, so I'm passing it on. There's that aspect. Then the aspect of stop being a baby. We women go through, like, we've been told that your cycle is supposed to be painful and all that. No, it isn't, ladies. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be, there's supposed to be discomfort, but not pain. Pain is not good. But we are told. So if I go to a fellow woman, I'm picking on my sister Brenda. Brenda is not even here, but I'll use for an example. And we haven't had that discussion. It's just an example purposes. I said, Brenda, she said, Ivan, Kosa. You know what I mean? This and that. Or if I say, oh, Brenda, I'm thinking of having a hysterectomy. Hysterectomy. You know what I mean? So now I feel like I'm not whole because this thing, but my doctors are saying this is threatening me. This is threatening my life, and the hysterectomy is the best choice. So we need to stop being hard. And some women have never, ever experienced anything like that. They just feel like, Shaishiba. So those who haven't experienced that should not downplay it. Those who have should not bring because when I in the last in the previous show, I think I talked about my mother used to faint, but her grandmother, my great grandmother, used to tell her, you know, and whoop her. Now, it's my aunts, my mother, my grandmother, these are conversations that we didn't have. But mlesa kulika health pattern kamo. In anybody in your family have cancer, breast cancer. You know, so we have to start listening. Women, we have to be also sympathetic and have empathy to one another. There are a lot of things that we can do, but we have to create a support system. And because we amongst ourselves, sometimes we build ourselves, at the same time we can tear ourselves down, you know. So we just have to know how to be there for one another, how to support. And opening up with some of these things, not everybody's going to take it with the same spirit. Somebody will be like very helpful. Another person will be laughing behind your back at, so those are some of the things that we are careful about. If I go, sorry, Brenda, if I go to Brenda and say, Brenda, and then Brenda goes to Nelly and say this and that, and it becomes a discussion between them. Before I know it, there's a WhatsApp being spread and all that stuff. Those are the things that keep us, we close, we shut down, you know. Someone can talk about being molested. They'll say, promiscuous, rather than saying, let's find a way to address this trauma. Let's find a way to help you heal. You know, molestation, now I don't want to go into that conversation, but it's still being molested. There are people who've been raped, all those things, but a person masks it and starts doing other things that if another person hears, they talk about you in a negative way, and these are fellow women, rather than help you and lift you up. So ladies, let's have more grace for one another.
Okay, that's very important. Okay, so let's try to wind up this conversation. It's not conclusive. We just wanted to pick up from what things we talked about last time and throw some things at ourselves and the idea is not just to talk about something and we move on and leave it like that. So back to the crusade, Pastor Alan, we are going to be on a crusade to mobilize, to reach out to the young girls in Zambia and even the old women who may not have the means for the necessary hygiene materials that are needed. Here I'm trying to sound very professional here.
We need pads and underwear.
Okay, okay, all right. Amen. So we're gonna be on that crusade. Any ideas how we can approach or conquer this thing? And we, of course, we shall ask our sister Carol if she can spearhead this, and we channel everything to her. Okay, we haven't spoken to her, but we are suggesting that since she's already doing this, we don't want to start another organization, Kumbari, when there's already something else going on. So we can do that. Pastor Alan, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it would be good to work with somebody that's already doing it, because they've navigated some of the pitfalls and whatever's that are there. So it will be more direct. Even those who feel like they want to do it on their own, there's no harm on picking up the phone and saying, well, guys, how have you been doing it? You don't have to start from scratch, because ultimately our interest is in the end recipient, is in those girls. So I think we can, Matilda, we can get together after talk so that we take all the politics and the thingies out of it as much as possible. You know, some people will want to say, oh, because that's one thing with us as a community, we can't support, even no matter how good something is. It must be Alan's name at the forefront and not the other person. Otherwise, we just kill it and it just dies. But meanwhile, the kids we were talking about are still going without. So for me, it doesn't matter who spearheads it. Carol is great because she's already been doing it.
Okay.
There are other people who we may not know about it, because there are people who do things quietly and nobody knows about it. So they are there. So if we can figure out a way, if you're interested, you've been doing it, let's get together and let's do something that we can.
Okay. What we shall do is, we are not going to restrict this to the US. We shall reach out to Europe, South Africa, everywhere. The reason I say that is because I call her Dr. T. I call my sister Tokozilele, and Dr. T says Kasupa Samakai currently does work in mobilizing pads for young girls and women. So Matilda, we have another contact there. Let's find.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Dr. T will help us with contact information for Kasupa Samakai, and then we shall move from this. We're gonna make this a global movement. Okay. Yeah. All Zambians in the what do you call it?
At home and abroad. This is a partnership, and you know, I mentioned Carol Care. I know I'll be remiss if I don't say this. There's a water, I think it's water empowerment. I think her name is Manena. She's based in the US. There are people like Chola Lungu who's doing something, but her project led to doing something like this. So let's do what we can. This is something that we can partner with more than one person. They need our support. Water empowerment. That's right. That's with Manena. We can partner with them, and let's also work with the people Kunganda, because sometimes bridge tulakwata communication we're Zambia takuli, and yet they have it, but they are lacking maybe means to disperse, to
distribute.
Yes. So let's work with them, because Nababene, they are also having drives. So what can we do to help our drive and their drive? Let's work together and do this. This is an international thing at home and abroad.
A global thing. It's a global crusade. So Matilda, we're going to get in touch with Zenith, Dr. T. They're going to connect her to all these people. If you know somebody else who's involved in any way, you know, one thought that just came dropped, like we say in charismatic circles, you know, the Holy Spirit just dropped
in your spirit. Like the Holy Spirit dropped it. Something dropped in the spirit. Go on.
What we could also do, I think about people like Fabi. You know, she does the backpack thing.
Fabi Kaira.
Backpack, we put something in there. How about
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
In partnership now Atlanta women, because they also do school
see?
books, and now we can help them, and they're helping girls.
So
you know,
see, that to some extent also eliminates the concept of how do we ship this huge bundle of pads and underwears. So the Atlanta women put them in the backpacks. Fabi
Yes.
puts them in the backpacks, you know, Manena, whatever they do. So that's what we're going to do. So right now we're going to do is get on this crusade to mobilize, and to everybody's going to get involved. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what we are going to do. Okay. I need to tell you what I'm going to be doing next week.
Pastor Nathan, also reach out to your pastors, get them involved too.
The pastors.
Yeah.
Yes. Our clergy. We shouldn't limit. You asked that question, Van Nathan.
Yeah.
Is the church being limited? The hands of Jesus. You know, there was a day I had to ask. Not church Yandi that I go to. My church here in the US. Are we helping widows and orphans? I had to really ask that question. Like, do we have that ministry? You know what I mean? Reason I bring that up is, what are the things that Jesus said we should do? Help feed the orphans, the widows, and this and that. The thing. Are we being the hands and feet of Christ?
Matilda, stop leading me.
Later.
You are going to force me to say things here that
oh man! Hey, but before we close, there's
we are not closing. Wait, two things I want to do here. Organizations Yengi, Dr. T says Joel Ewanika is an NGO that teaches girls and young women to make reusable pads. So we are going. This is a global crusade. We are going to go on a global crusade, mobilize and put. Or should we say 1 million pads? We buy 1 million pads. That's very easy.
It's possible.
So
very possible.
Listen to this. Next week, I'm going to bring a group of church leaders here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be talking about the state of the church. Have con men skimmed their way to the pulpit? Okay? You cannot miss that.
Yes. That's a powerful topic right there.
That's what we're going to be talking about next week. Okay.
And the listener said, amen.
And I'm also being told here that you all remember Bright Changanya in Australia? He's got Bright Changanya also, we need to get a hold of him. They make reusable pads and donations to the girls in Zambia. So there are a lot of organizations.
There are a lot.
Yeah. So let's just sort of like bump it up, give it a boost, and say, hey, this is something that just can't be going on silently or something.
Silently,
like
yes.
Yeah. So make it. You wanted to say something, Pastor Alan, before
before we kind of change gears, I think Nelly mentioned that not all traditions need to be passed on. See, some traditions were working in that setup. So, like for instance, the way the women would be secluded, I call it the 5 days or whatever, the whole week, nowhere, not seeing anybody, so that tradition worked then. Nobody was going to school. You can't do that to a girl that you expect to be in school and also be able to advance her education if she's going to spend 1 week out of every month away from school totally.
It was for hygiene purposes.
Yes. And then there was
it was for that, but it also things not to the things that will make you cringe. That time of the month is a very messy thing, and it will cause concern for a lot of things.
But my point is that what they used to do then
should not
today's world. It's totally different. And so some traditions that were passed on worked then. So you can't move something in isolation without changing everything else, and they keep working. Like you want your wife to come home, cook your food and everything. She was out at work 8 hours a day, same as you. And you want her to do what your mother, who was the stay-at-home mother, was doing. It's just not going to work.
I agree with that statement of some traditions don't need to be passed on. But I'm laughing and smiling to myself. For any woman who's going through perimenopause or menopause, there are times when we say, can they bring back those days where we can be staying 5 days in the Fekunganda so that this thing can pass because the pain is something else. It's excruciating, but that's not a tradition. It's a reason for.
Yeah.
That's different. But yes, certain traditions don't need to be passed on. One day, Vanessa, when we get a chance, we can circle back on this traditional thing. They are very interesting conversations. Keepers of traditions, they have they have comments on this one.
Yeah, you
But
know,
we
here
move
we are
on.
not afraid to talk about anything.
Yeah.
We shall talk about it. You want us to talk about it? Let's talk.
I
long as
do.
they're not infringing any cultural issues here.
Yeah.
No. It's I was on a forum on another platform, and we were talking about traditions. And you know how you can be going on the same road and then you start parting ways. The tradition conversations just from the beginning, and not just two ways, like we all just spread. There are people who, there are certain stories or folklore that used to come with a traditional thing that you need to keep, and they'll say why. And sometimes it will be masked. There'll be a shroud of fear, you know. And so we have moved on. Most of us are Christians now. Most of us are being exposed to a lot of things, and there's certain things that are like, it's a little bit foolish.
So Matilda, here we are. Okay, Development and Empowerment for Women's Advancement Project UK would also love to participate. Okay.
Thank you.
There is the number there. Let's get in touch with Tandiso. I hope I said that right. Forgive me.
Yeah. So Matilda, it's important that the action steps. So when we get off the call, we create that WhatsApp.
We are going to start working on this.
Yes.
Now, all these organizations, Dr. T, we shall get in touch with you. Everybody, Zenith, we need that information about Manena. And this is a global crusade. This is a global crusade we are going. This is just, we're just almost the beginning. You got the number?
I got the number, everything. Thank you, Tandiso.
Yeah, please. Tandiso. This is a global crusade. 1 million parts. That's nothing. Okay.
Tandosi. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Now that's correct. All right. Oh my goodness. Everybody, thank you so much. So Matilda, end of February, you are going to do another show with the ladies on this. The last weekend of February. I'm giving you that assignment.
Itananani.
And we are going to give a report of how many pads we have collected or how much money has been contributed, how many organizations are participating. That's what we are going to do. Enough of talking politics and worrying about Kambui, the HH and all that stuff. Let's do something here. The politicians are in it for themselves. Okay.
Yeah. But Pastor Nathan, sorry, just one thing I wanted to say that, the women can get and discuss that, but also the guys can still come alongside because there's still a lot of logistics. How do you transport them from this place to that place?
We'll work together.
So we make sure that
the men need to sit and listen. The men need to sit and listen when your wife is talking.
But in the actual
she's not putting you down. She's telling you this is what is going on. Listen.
Please reach deep into the pocket. I even have a sermon.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh my goodness. All right. Thank you, Matilda. Thank you. It's always good to have you here. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Okay, that's the Zeo number for the Kuomboka event coming up on April 13th here in Dallas, Texas. The tickets, I believe, $100. Let's all come and participate. If you're not able to, you can sponsor somebody. We're looking forward to having this is unique. It's exciting, and I'm excited about it. And maybe we can also do Mutomboko and all that stuff. So that's the number for the Kuomboka if you want to buy tickets. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Like I said, next week, we are going to be talking about the state of the church. Have con men schemed or found their way into the pulpit. We shall see you next week.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio.